Hi, welcome back to Design Development. This is the third section, and today we'll be looking at smaller details of design, which will then help us to move on to create what are essentially blueprints for our products. These smaller details are all about how our products could work and fit together, which is important when it comes to the actual manufacturing of the product. Once again, I'm going to be referring back to my chair design. And step one is to break down our product into sections. So, for example, one section would be how the end caps fit into the legs, or how the legs fit to the base of the actual chair. And we have to start to work out how these things actually fit together. So whether it screws together or slots together, whether it folds on hinges or whatever that is. So I'm going to go ahead and break my product down into sections and plan a few ideas on how they'll actually fit together and work.
I mean the kind of music men hum or whistle when they feel on top of the world. And gentlemen, one of the many things that give you that tip-top feeling is the pleasure of being well-dressed.
Even at this stage, there is little point in planning how you would manufacture the raw materials. Not because it's not important, but because that sort of testing is not really available to us during this time. So for the sake of the process, we will assume we have no issues obtaining our raw materials. This also means we can design things made out of 24 karat gold if we wish. You'll also notice that I'm not putting much detail in once again. It's no use wasting effort and graphite on quick technical drawings. It's better to find the best ideas and the measurements and then develop them later on.
Music men hum or whistle when they feel on top of the world.
So, to cut down on time, I chose two of the sections and added a little detail to those. So I picked S1 here, which I've titled, which is the legs to end caps, as we'll call them. And I picked S2, which is legs to base. And that's looking up from this angle, so looking up from the bottom up to the base. Here's S1. These are my three little ideas, just scrawled. So we have here's the basic form here, the initial idea, so metal legs going into the wooden end caps. And here's the first idea. So this is just a milled hole into the wood, which the metal leg slots in. And then I thought, that's not particularly stable, so if we have a milled section but a metal fitted receiver there, which can be tightened with a little screw hole, so that allows you to remove the legs and change them, which means you can put new ones on. Next one is S2, which was how the legs connected to the base, looking from the underside. My initial idea was to simply connect the legs using two screw holes, but I thought that would be a little unstable, very wobbly, probably wouldn't last long. So So we moved on to the idea of milling a hole into the underside of the wooden base, having the legs slot in, and I also thought they could be screwed as well as slotted, so that way they're not going to kilter off too much. And then the final idea, which is a little bit excessive, milling this entire shape, almost like a propeller, into the underside of the chair, in which the metal frame, which would include this circle, would slot in. This was milled in, slotted and screwed in, and that way it would come off as one and go on as one, and it wouldn't move at all really. But perhaps that one is a little excessive. Now, after you've completed putting that little bit of idea development into all those sections, you can start to put actual measurements and planning in place through some of those. So I'm just going to do one to show you what really is important and what isn't. And for the sake of keeping it fairly short, I'm going to pick this one here, slotting into the end caps, because I rather like that idea. So for this, you're going to need another sheet of paper, and this time a ruler for some measurements. After a couple of minutes of mucking about, dropping a camera and 3 cups of coffee, I've come up with some very basic technical drawings based off the original S1 idea, this one here. So I started by doing a quick sketch of that, so I didn't have to keep looking back to it, and started playing with measurements and ideas. Now these are not accurate at all, but I have put the actual measurements here and what each bit's are for reference for later on. So I worked out what size I wanted it to be, so that there, 25 millimeter is the entire end cap diameter, the size of that. Haven't worked out the height yet. I worked out how I was actually going to slot in the metal piece, which then obviously fitted into the leg fitted into it, and using all of this I can then go on to do a technical drawing, which is the next step, which I'll cover in the next video. And for that it's good to have graph paper. If you don't have that, you can get around it, but for that process you do, depending on the shape, you will need a few additional tools. So I'm going to need a protractor, a compass, a ruler again, and 20 other cups of coffee to get through that. And so that's what I'll be covering in the next video. At the end of this process, it's again good to go back over all the other stages and just make sure that you are still in line with your original ideas, and if it has changed, why is it changed? Does it need to be moved back onto the path? Again, it's also useful to look at our research material as well, so that's other artists and designers as well as products, referring back to those will give us an idea on how to actually assemble these products and, well, design them in the way in which they'd be assembled.